and welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. Today we'll be exploring how to create Photoshop mockups, which are very important in a graphic designer's skill set. Today we'll be reviewing how to use the transform, distort, warp, and layer blending modes in Photoshop to create realistic images with your designs. So let's get started. So first things first, you need to start in Illustrator. I have the logo that I designed last time, the Yellowstone logo, already open in Illustrator. I need to make sure that my object is grouped. So go to Object and Group to make sure that it is one group. It'll be easier when we take it into Photoshop. So make sure that you have Photoshop open, and I have my tote file open, my t-shirt file, and then also the iPhone screen JPEG is open. So make sure those three are open so you can follow along with this demo. I'm going to go back to Illustrator and select my logo, and Command C, go back to Photoshop and Command V, so just copy and paste it in. Now when I'm pasting it in, I have to make sure that I'm pasting it as pixels. This will allow me to distort or make it look like it's lying flat on my tote. The one thing on here is we have this little logo I'd like to get rid of, so I need to select the background image or the image itself. I'm going to go to the rectangle marquee tool and draw a rectangle around my logo. I'm going to fill this with content aware. What content aware does is it takes surrounding pixels and fills in the area to make it look like it was never there, thus deleting it. So there we go, now the logo is deleted. And I'm going to go back up to my selection tool to make this bigger and start working on making this logo look like it's lying flat on top of this tote. So I'm just moving it and positioning it on the tote. Once you have it in an area that you like and the size that you like, go ahead and go up to Edit, Transform, and then Distort. You can go to the edges of where your anchors are or the edges of your bounding box and then start moving your logo to make it look like it's lying flat on your tote. These are micro movements. We're just really trying to make it look like it's visually on the tote. And I'm following the bottom and the top edge of the tote as a way to see where my edges of my logo should fall. So once you're happy with it, press the return key to then exit out of the distort area. So now I'm going to add some effects to my logo to make it look like it's been printed on this tote. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of my layer. So now I have two copies of my logo. And this top layer, I'm going to select Darken as the layer option. And then my opacity, I'm going to bring it down to 71. And you can see it makes a little bit of a difference. And then I'm going to double click into my layer and go to Layer Styles, click on Bevel and Emboss, and then click on Texture. And I'm going to add a grass texture, which is the middle one. If you don't see it, probably when you click in, it'll look like this. Press the middle, it says grass, the drop-down arrow. Select the middle one and press OK. Now if I zoom in, we can see it adds this little bit of a texture, which looks really good. It looks like it's been silk screened on this tote. And I'm going to select the bottom layer of my logo and take the opacity down to 41. Now this looks pretty good, but it's a little light. So I'm going to go into my bottom layer and just bump up that opacity to 58. And that gives me a little bit of more vibrancy in the color, but not too much that it looks like we've photoshopped this. And when I'm ready, I'm just going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG. So now let's start on our t-shirt. The one thing with this t-shirt is it's on a body, so we need to curve the logo in the shape of the person actually wearing it. So I'm going to go back to my Illustrator file, Command C, so copy, Command V or paste, and again I'm going to be doing pixels. I want to paste as pixels. I'm going to click OK. And I'm just going to immediately resize this bigger so it looks like it's a t-shirt and a logo. I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can actually see what we're doing. This time we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Warp. And this will allow us to curve this logo on his body. So I'm just going to use the drop down areas or these anchor points and then pull them in, just curving it. And this is where the artistry of Photoshop comes in. You're really thinking, how would this logo look if someone was wearing it? It would probably wrap around their body in kind of a half cylindrical area. So again, these are micro movements on here. That looks pretty good. So once you're happy with it, press the return key to exit out of the transform tool. And then we're going to do the same thing, add some effects to this, because right now it looks like a logo just sitting on top of the t-shirt. I'm just going to copy that layer. The top layer, again, I'm going to do darken as my layer style. The opacity, I'm going to take down to 87%. I'm going to go to that bottom logo layer and take the opacity to 13%. And that's what I'm going to do on this one. It's a nice, bright, clean, crisp shirt, so we don't really need to add a texture to it. And again, save as, just as a JPEG. And then that's it for this one. So let's get started on the iPhone. I have it open in Photoshop. I need to go back to Illustrator, and I've drawn a rectangle in the shape of my iPhone screen, so it'll be easier to paste in to Photoshop. I'm just going to press down and then select both items. I'm going to Command C and then Command V, or copy and paste. When I'm pasting, I'm making sure I am pasting into Photoshop as pixels. Now from here, I'm going to go up to the Edit menu and go to Transform and Distort. I'm going to place it on my iPhone screen and zoom in, because I'm going to be dragging these corners into the corner of the iPhone. So this makes it pretty easy if you have a flat surface and then also a square area or a logo. You just need to drag it into the corners and it will perfectly distort it to make it look like it's lying on top of the screen. Now, if you're happy with this, you could save it as a JPEG here, but screens usually have some kind of glare, so we're going to add in a glare into this corner. So I'm going to go over to my layers and drag and drop it onto the copy area, make a copy of it. On this copy, I'm going to go to Edit, Fill, and I'm going to fill it with the color. I'm going to fill it with white. And when this pop-up window, I just select white, or I can type in 6 Fs into the hex number and then press OK. My whole screen will turn white, and I need to create it into a clipping mask. I need to put this white area into my screen. So I'm going to press the Option or Alt key and hover between these two layers and then click. And it'll drop my fill layer directly into my iPhone layer. I'm going to go to the paintbrush tool and then make sure that I have black as my brush and go up to my brush. I want to have a soft brush. And I'm just going to use my brush and draw on my iPhone screen. Now, the black area will be the area of the screen and the white area is going to be the glare. So I'm just going to color in here because I don't want the glare in that area. Once I've done that, I'm going to go over to my layer area and change my blending mode in my layer area to multiply. And I'm going to change the opacity to 8%. I'm going to copy this layer, and then now this top layer, I'm going to select Screen, And then the opacity, I'm going to take up slightly to 10%. And this gives me this nice glare on my screen, and it makes it look more realistic. Once you're happy with it, again, go to File, Save As, and then a JPEG, and you are done. Thanks for watching, and make sure to keep practicing your Photoshop skills so you can add Photoshop mockups to your skill set.